Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our final series of the CLOL quarterfinals. In just a few minutes, the U Buffalo Esports will rise to challenge the Winthrop Eagles, one of our newer names when it comes to the college scene. So let's go ahead and hop right into what these teams do bring to the table, because Raz, Winthrop is coming to play.
Yes, they are. Winthrop has played in a few amateur events already, but being here in CLOL, this is what they're built for. Last time they faced Riverside, it was actually a really contested series. You kind of expected Riverside to come out with a victory, but it was Doxa who came out and showed up big. He was, what are you calling it? Flame horizoning the enemy AD, mid laner, and in this specific team fight, made the game-winning play. So he's definitely who they live and die by.
Yeah, this team is just built around Doxa, just feast or famining in the mid lane, and a lot of it has to do with his champion pool. He's very known for Lucian, Syndra, Zed, Akali, these kind of champions that are going to dominate lane, but if they don't, then that's when Winthrop can find themselves in a little bit of trouble.
Yes, I agree with that. I think want to give a lot of love to his continued growth. He's on now TSM Amateur, so that's something that you always want to support the players moving up in the scene. And then on top of that, I think Frost Forest, the person he's been working with consistently, their 2v2 is fantastic. So definitely this team works really well through mid, and then can take that advantage, head down towards the bot side of the map.
Ooh, speaking of, I do want to touch on the bot side a little bit, because there's a player that might be familiar to some CLOL fans, a two-time champion, Saskio. He has achieved this feat in two different roles. So, Raz, I mean, would you say it's fair that he might be a Xiaohu of NA here?
Yeah, Xiaohu perks, put them all together. He's definitely done so well. Like, Saskio, as a bot laner, I'm excited to talk about, because he's got multiple 2v2 kills with his support in Sir Kenji, and so between those two guys, it's one of those things where you would love to, and we did talk about Doxa a lot in the early portions of the game. Saskio is the player that you have to give him respect, because he will have pop-off moments like these.
Yeah, and you can just not overstate how important he is to Winthrop's success. As you were talking about, he's arguably the GOAT of the college scene. He's been on so many teams. He's been on so many successful programs. And the thing that I like most about him is that he's a cerebral player rather than a pure mechanics player. Obviously, he has the mechanics. He's known most famously for probably his stream to master tier, where he's playing Yumi at the same time as playing AD carry. And the only way to do that is through having really good mechanics. But he's also a player that can just dominate the lane phase through lane manipulation, through 2v2 knowledge, all of these things.
So definitely a lot of strength coming out of this team, but they do have some hefty competition. Everybody earning their spot here in the top 8. U Buffalo Esports, Dylan, are looking not to make an easy work for their opponents.
Yeah, U Buffalo's a team that is a little bit personal for me. They knocked my team out of the top 32.
No!
Out of Kenshin for the top 32. But they definitely deserve their spot here. Much like Bethany, they are an invite team, which is amazing to see that they've made it this far. I love that addition to the CLOL top 32 system, the fact that certain teams can get invited in through a panel. But U Buffalo, they are a team that is going to focus a lot around their top laner. We're going to get more in depth talking about him, but this team is pretty well rounded. But when it comes to their success, they pretty much live or die through Canas.
Yeah, and that's what makes this team so much fun to watch, because when they went up against University of Illinois, it was a scrappy series, it was a kill-heavy series, and it was one that started mid and ended to Canas, who is, yeah, exactly, he's a carry type of player. Camille is one example of many that he will go towards. So it's a nice addition to U Buffalo. And also, it's something that, talking about a larger conversation, they don't need to have him split pushing. He's also a teamfight powerhouse in their team that will unashamedly just straight first pick Galio and just fight. They will force these things. They're incredibly aggressive, and I think that's what makes them so good, and what catches a lot of teams by surprise is that level of coordination.
while the previous series was a bit slower in the early stages, maybe some of that willingness to fight will bleed through into this one here. I think with this team, though, Dylan, you have to kind of shout out both of these solo laners here, because Riven has definitely also proven to be a huge source of strength.
Yeah, I mean, there is no Batman without Robin. And Riven, while he's definitely, not quite up there in terms of individual carry potential like Canas is, the team would not succeed without him. Riven, as you're pointing out, Raz, he's willing to sacrifice his own lane and his own success to set up the rest of his team. He'll pick Galio in matchups where Galio's not good. He'll play Lissandra, these kind of champions that are more supportive in nature. He's got a very good Karma mid. I'm sure he can play things like Lulu. These are champions that you can expect to see him play this series that other mid laners kind of shy away from because they're more carry oriented, where he's more of like a support utility style mid laner.
And that's what's fun to see, because he's willing to, it's literally in his name, Riven. And you see in the champion pool, Riven, Talon, Kiana, and he's not willing to play that because he's taking that step back for the overall team strategy. And that sacrifice has been paying off. It's they're in the top 8 for a reason. And if getting this win thrust them in the semifinals. And for me, the performance that he has had in the previous in the round of 16 in the previous series, it was unstoppable. And it's like a lot of times in competitively the Legends, you're saying, hey, first picking Galio is it's usually a pretty bad decision because of how much you lose in mid lane, but he's able to make it work. So this is the series that I really want to see how he actually performs versus Doxa.
Raz, you were the only one that got the predictions right in the first series of the day. I will ask you first, who is going to be our last semifinalist team?
I think it's going to be Winthrop. I think Winthrop is too well-rounded of a squad. We talked about Doxa pretty heavily, but as I said, Frost Forest, Saskio, and even Hybrids. Hybrids will have his moment. He's had a lot of great team fights in the previous series, so I think they're just a really well-rounded team.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to jump on that bandwagon. I think it's Winthrop, and I think it's not even close. Buffalo, they did knock me out, but this is the end of the road for them. I don't think you're going to get past Winthrop.
Dylan took a dagger to the heart so that you, Buffalo, could rise. But selfishly, I am happy about that because it means that we get you here on the desk. So win-win for us here on the broadcast. With that, though, I think we're ready to get into game number 1, everybody. Find out who our final semifinalist will be. And once again on the cast, we've got Kangas and Joshi. Bring us right into that action, fellas.
Thank you, LaTigris. Appreciate that. Everybody, this is it for the round of 8 quarterfinals, our final matchup of the day before we get into the semifinals starting tomorrow. We got a banger ahead of us, Joshi, as Buffalo upsetting pretty much everybody on their run here, having an incredible performance going up against potentially one of the hardest competitors they could possibly find in the round of 8 in Winthrop. I'm really hot on this Winthrop squad. They scored the highest of any collegiate team participating in the Proving Ground circuit, and I think that they are the real deal. Buffalo's going to have to show up big here.
They will, but we also have to pay attention to the fact that we have a bit of bias coming through, right? We get to see all these other teams. SUNY Buffalo Esports, we haven't seen a lot from these guys prior to that. We have a lot of name recognition. Winthrop played in the Proving Grounds. You and I cast a lot of that. We've seen a lot of these schools having a lot of success historically, but Buffalo kind of coming in as a lot of people's dark horse for this tournament. A lot of people look at them and say, they could be really good, and they highlighted a couple players, Canas and Riven, but I also want to take a bit of time to highlight their bottom lane as well. Jelly and Seat coming through, because it's a fantastic bottom lane where they actually have one of the other highest ranked players in the entire tournament in Jelly, and kind of provides a counterbalance. You can't just shut down Canas, you also have to shut down this bottom lane in order to prevent them from having real carry threats.
Let's see if they can do it. Just a side note, can somebody make a Buffalo Esports Gamepedia page? I think they've earned it at this point, making top 8 here in CLOL 2021, but I'll let somebody else do it. Let's catch up on the band so far. Winthrop on the blue side, University of Buffalo Esports on the red. Renekton, Galio, this makes a lot of sense. We've seen Riven play a lot of Galio. They even flexed it to Seat in the bot lane. And then Set as the bans for Winthrop. Thresh and Varus so far the bans for Buffalo.
It's a very different set of patches that we've been seeing. A lot of this Galio, they played a lot of Pantheon early in the split. Karma, Lissandra, like these are all things that are still playable, and Lissandra even got a couple of small buffs, but we highlighted this in our notes, the Nocturne coming through. You and I have some very different opinions on how strong this champion actually is, so we'll go based on what this series is. If they win this game, clearly Nocturne has to be a good champion, right?
Hey, all I'm going to say is it had now I'm blanking. I think it had a 100% win rate in the round of 60. Nobody quote that on me, but they at least won a game with it. The thing I like about the Nocturne is as a counter pick, once you see the enemy composition, but Winthrop time and time again are willing to lock this in first round, first rotation, before even seeing anything that their opponents have, and that's the big surprising factor. Is usually you see this come in after the comps are locked in, but you Buffalo are responding with the Morgana and the Leona.
Yeah, this is why I think the Nocturne is a little bit surprising with how much priority they're putting on it, because it commits you to a bit of a dive composition relatively early. When you compare it with things like the Galio or the Malphite that they have had success with in the round of 16, I believe, you force people together with Nocturne, and then you punish them for doing that with things like the Rumble or the Galio or the Malphite that just dunk on people when they group up in these small choke points. So it is a thing where you are committed to a style, but you are able to do the style really well from the get-go. And so as we see the compositions come through, nothing particularly surprising at this point from either side. The Rumble can also be flexed, probably between Hybrids and Frost Force. Doxa tends to like a little bit more mobility in his mid lane.
Yeah, I like this pairing with a Nocturne in particular. It shows that,
That's mid.
I mean, there's a little less ambiguity, right? Yeah, we're assuming the Pantheon's going mid, but the Nocturne, turns off the lights. Usually people group together, and that's where Rumble wants you to be, right? And also they have the Kaisa to jump on with the Nocturne. But Joshi, I know you want to talk about that Pantheon lock-in because this is a Buffalo special.
It really is. It's something that we've seen Cryo play quite a bit, and when I look at this team, when I've talked to people who've played against this team, they say that this is a team that wants to build tempo, they want to fight you early, they want to 3-4-man dive your side lanes, and Pantheon is fantastic at doing all of that. But it does have a big weakness if you look at Winthrop. One of the big things that Nocturne does is he shuts down global play from the other team because, hey, you can't see. Cryo can try and ult in with the Grand Skyfall, but if he doesn't get the timing just right, he's just going to be either 8 seconds late or wasting his ultimate in order to try and get to somewhere close to the team fight. So you got a lot of interplay between these two teams, both of them clearly very willing to scrap.
And also just the Nocturne being able to go wherever the Pantheon goes, right? Like if Pantheon ults somewhere, you're no longer having a man advantage because Nocturne can get there just as fast, right? But let's take a look at the rest of the bans coming through here. You Buffalo, I like this. Banning away the Shen. This is a special that Winthrop like to play with Hybrids and Frost Force, as well as taking away the Zoe. Winthrop focusing on that Camille. Now, something I want to note here, Josh, you and I noticed this with Buffalo. They like playing red side because they like to give Canas last pick. So we're expecting them to save that top lane counter pick all the way to the end here.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of things like the Camille coming through from them. The Renekton, not as much, but he has been known for things like the Jax and Irelia, and you have to be very careful as Hybrids. There are ways to deal with it, like Malphite kind of comes to mind relatively on. It pairs well with the Nocturne. It also kind of shuts down a lot of these auto attackers and gives you another engage tool.
We're not seeing a Gwen yet, Joshi.
Not yet.
I don't see a ban. Or Viego. Winthrop, I feel like Winthrop's a team that would play the Gwen. If they want to go for it, it is available right now, and that could be really rough for Buffalo, unless Canas has something he's very confident on to shut down that Gwen. But they lock in the Xayah for themselves, so a little more defensive pick for Jelly.
I saw this Zed hover for a while. Doxa did play it earlier in the tournament. I believe it was in round of 32, and he had some pop-off plays during that series, but this is a bit of a tougher opponent. Gotta be very respectful at this point. So it is a thing that is surprising me that Gwen hasn't been picked or banned by either team. It is very strong. It gives you a lot of the scrapping power that both these teams are looking to pick up, and something that you want to talk about is that these teams can very easily determine the entire series through pick and ban. If you find a better scrapping team earlier than your opponent, you're going to be in a fantastic position to actually win.
I feel like you lock in Gwen if you're Buffalo. I feel like this is what Canas wanted. I was worried that Winthrop weren't going to grab it themselves and would grab something that the Gwen could be played into. I'm assuming it will be the Nocturne top, although I suppose it could still be the Rumble top and the Nocturne going into the jungle. They can hold that all the way to the end. But no, Buffalo, this might be the first time we don't see Gwen at all, whether picked or banned, because Canas really likes his Aatrox.
this is pretty interesting, right? You have a lot of scrapping power. You have a lot of physical damage coming up from the side of Buffalo. But on the opposite side, you have a lot of magic damage. You got the Rumble, the Syndra, and Kaisa does a bit of a mix depending on how you build. You often see Collector and Lethality, so, you know, it's not entirely magic damage, but definitely more magic damage than most other marksmen are going to be putting out. And I feel like a lot of this is because the draft is a bit of a wash, right? Like, both these teams are coming in with very sensible compositions. Both of them look to be playing their own style. It's going to shift over to execution. You want to get to a lot of these objectives first. You want to be able to control chokes, and you want to be able to control vision. If Pantheon and Nocturne don't feel safe ulting in, well, suddenly they're not going to be nearly as effective with their global abilities.
I was going to say this. I haven't had a chance until now. I consider this series to be won or lost in pick ban based on how Buffalo have been playing. This is a composition that we've seen them play before, or at least a style that we've seen them play before and be successful with. So this is a great start to the series for them. They got what they like. Safe bot laner that can kind of be on an island with the Xayah. Mid laner that can roam and help out Canas on a carry that got counterpick into that Rumble. We're loaded onto the Rift, everybody, for our second series of the day. Winthrop taking on Buffaloes. And I'm very excited to get this one going, Joshi, because, man, the Buffalo story to get to this point has been so exciting to watch. You said it yourself, the dark horses of the tournament. And, man, if they could just give it to Winthrop, who I had as maybe favorites to win the whole thing, that would be a story indeed.
That's a bold claim. I mean, I love Winthrop as much as anybody else, but this is a team that, well, they've done well improving grounds. They are very scrappy. They've had games that they look really, really good in where they just roll over everybody off of kind of their name value alone. But there are other times where, you know, they go for some of these plays, they don't quite work out. And as you said, if this game is determined with pick bans, with that in mind and how volatile both these teams are, as the play-by-play, do you have any predictions?
Ooh, I like it. I like it. You're giving it to me. Well, as much as I love the underdog story and think Buffalo do have a great composition, I do just have to say Doxa diff and Saskio going for the three-peat. So the narrative is definitely behind Winthrop here, right?
Yeah.
But I think overall it will come down to where this Nocturne decides to go early on. I feel like if Frost Force can get a valuable level 6 ultimate right away, that can be the momentum that Winthrop need to just run away with it, because Buffalo, what we saw in the round of 16, very momentum-based team. But here we go, play on the bot side already from Winthrop. Just some early damage on Deceit, poking out that Leona.
That's big. That's a big chunk early on. Normally, you look at this Leona as a counterpick to Nautilus because they do similar things, but Leona does more damage and takes less in a lot of these trades. So pushing Leona back at the very beginning of the lane is going to be giving Saskio and Kenji a lot more freedom to actually play in this lane and potentially have priority when Frost Force clears from top to bot and comes for the scuttle.
They want more. They also get a hook onto Jelly. Wow, aggression early from Winthrop's bot lane. Sir Kenji really fishing for these and finding advantages. Important to note that the biscuits are there for Jelly and Seat, so they can heal up, but still, this is, you know, I like to see this kind of aggression early on.
And I like this ward from Doxa. This is something we've been starting to see more and more at the high levels of play. You push forward with your priority in the first and second wave. You walk over, you ward the Raptors, and suddenly you know exactly where the opposing jungler is. Doxa is able to do that. They know Morgana's on the top side, and because both of these junglers are going to be kind of yin-yanging and having opposite side starts, it is going to mean that we are going to have Canas pushing forward in the top lane, and then Saskio and Sir Kenji pushing forward in the bottom lane, and now it has to be said, how you get some vision down, how you're able to respond to these scuttle crabs can have a lasting impact on how these teams play.
And with both junglers on opposite sides, you assume it will be a handshake of, okay, Ghoulster will take the top scuttle and give Frost Force that bottom scuttle here, just based on where the priority is from these lanes. But Ghoulster just slightly ahead in the jungle clear. One thing interesting to notice is, again, the difference between Morgana played at the highest level of League of Legends versus Collegiate. We actually don't see these giant farm leads from Morgana players here. Frost Force is doing a great job of keeping up, at least not like falling too far behind, right? He is down a full scuttle right now, but overall I'd say that's pretty good against objectively, or you know, argument can be made for the fastest clearing jungler right now on this patch. So we'll have to wait and see what the junglers decide to do with that, as Ghoulster does go for a reset. But again, man, Sir Kenji wants this.
He does. The other thing that we have to highlight about Sir Kenji as well is not only is he a good laner, but he's also a very proactive roamer. We see moving up quite a lot from this guy, and that's one of the things that having the scuttle getting picked up on the bottom side is actually a hidden boon for Winthrop, because Sir Kenji knows that his opponents now have to commit actual wards in order to spot him out, whereas Seat is a little bit more limited. You can't just roam straight up into Dox's lane, and hey, we haven't talked about it yet, but Doxa diff is currently 16, and he is double his opponent's CS.
Yeah, Doxa really taking advantage of the range matchup, but here Seed actually goes aggressive in onto the Nautilus, but he's taking a lot of damage in return. Saskia repositions further forward, looking for this. He ignite the left.
Oh, not enough.
Ignite barely not enough. Now Ghoulster in. Saskia might have gone too far forward. He has the flash available. Ooh, flashes the root, but the first blood comes through for Ghoulster regardless.
This
That's
is another one.
Kenji now chasing out Saskia with no more summoner spells. One more auto from Ghoulster should get it. He flashes for it, and double kill to Ghoulster to start off the series.
This is why this game is going to be so volatile. This whole series can be determined in the first couple of minutes sometimes based on these kind of plays. Saskia and Sir Kenji thought that they had the play. They thought that they were safe because of the wards that they put down, but they extended a little bit too far, and it's going to be giving a big lead over to Ghoulster in this entire play. Like, look at this. Look at how willing they are to go for this play because they have a ward in the bush. They have the Scuttle Crab. They think they'll have time to back away from Ghoulster, but this is what Predator is all about. You can just run so quickly, catch people by surprise, and once you have this red buff, once you start tagging them, the slow is there. You just have enough damage to walk this guy down, and you might have burned down from the red buff, but Ghoulster making sure that it's no question about whether or not they get that kill.
I was talking about the clear speed of the Morgana. It doesn't matter what your clear speed is if you get fed 2 kills early on in the game. Picking up the Sork shoes with the Amp Tome. Actually, not go for the Dark Harvest. You know, a humble jungler on the Morgana pick right here, but still getting fed early on, has a bounty already. But where does the Morgana want to bring this gold? Because honestly, the way you're pathing, you could probably just go right back down to bot side. You know that there's no flash or heal on Saskia, and they are shoving in.
And we have to note, that's not just it. Cryo-Riven also has level 6. We see a fight in the mid lane.
Frost Force is here. He's waiting to spell shield. He actually doesn't get it on the binding. Cryo-Riven doing a lot of damage to Frost Force to get the flash out of Nocturne. Close.
Why? Here's
Riven almost goes
Kenji.
down to Doxa. Has to flash away because Sir Kenji did roam up faster. You highlighted it already, Joshi. This guy loves to get out of lane.
And he's kind of benefiting from the fact that, oh, they're just going right on in. They find him.
Ghoulster taking a lot of damage. That might just be gold in the pocket here of Winthrop University. Now they turn attention onto Seed, who also flashes away. Frost Force very low. Teleport used by Canas. Maybe a little early. Frost Force very low, though. Canas wants to go in onto Saskia. Look at Seed. Oh! Caught away from the rest of his team. Split calls right there as the support keeps going top, whereas everybody else goes bot. But either way, a trade of kills. Buffalo still feeling all right about that one.
The gold is even at the end of this, Kangas. You look at that even farm in almost every lane in the top half, except, you know, I said almost every. You got 2 out of 3 where they're basically even, but this Doxa diff in the mid lane starting to really tell signs, and this bottom lane, even though Saskia has died twice, still has a CS advantage, will maintain that after getting back to lane, and this game is going to be such a game that hangs in the balance. I feel like we're going to see a lot more movement coming up very soon, because Cryo-Riven has access to the ultimate. He wants to go top lane, he wants to go bottom lane, and start burying these side lanes.
He might have to. I love that play that Sir Kenji just did there. He actually canceled his back so that he could catch the wave and freeze it for Saskia. But here's a play onto the mid lane. They're going right in onto Cryo-Riven. He's got the shield, but it doesn't matter. Frost Force gets behind, takes him down. Seat level 4 right now, taking way too much damage. Sir Kenji goes forward. They should get the kill into support. They do. Ghoulster might trade one back. Trying to get on Frost Force, but cannot find the Nocturne. Well done by Winthrop to stay in this game.
Look at this Doxa player, man. This guy, he got picked up by TSM Amateur for a reason. He's been looking so good throughout the entirety of Proving Grounds, throughout Collegiate. Now 2-0-1, and they're looking for a play on the bot side.
Saskio's going for it. Heal's already used by Jelly. Doesn't get the root call. But Saskia doesn't actually find the kill. But still, yeah, I mean, just going back to your point, Doxa, fantastic performance at all of Collegiate so far. And, I mean, this is just the cherry on top for his year. Like you said, already picked up by TSM Amateur, and look at this setup.
Yeah, smart play coming through, right? You touch on the shield, and you just get behind the Pantheon. When this Pantheon is kind of weak, they don't have a lot of gold, they're a little bit down in experience, you're able to bully around much more effectively. And if you take away that tool, University of Buffalo only lost 1 series during the regular season. It was when they didn't have tempo.
And here we go, another kill onto Crimea Riven. Unfortunate here for Buffalo. Great start with those kills on the bot side, but now back-to-back plays going in the favor of Winthrop University. They're feeling fantastic because if they can just shut down this Pantheon, prevent Cry Riven from actually roaming around the map like he's prone to do, well, hey, that's a great step number one to close out this game.
And it's a great step towards getting tempo for your side, right? We just said it. University of Buffalo really play around the tempo. When you don't have priority in the mid lane, when you're just losing super heavily at this point, you start to ask, how are they going to try and get back into the game? Well, the answer right now is off of Ghoulster and White Jelly, right? You still have a couple of kills there. You still have plenty of gold to play with, but you actually got to start devoting a lot of attention there, and that is very telegraphed based on the way that Winthrop like to play. They know we're going to start fighting here.
Jelly and see it again on the bottom side. Man, they just keep duking it out. Joshi, when we came into this, we were looking at Buffalo thinking they play through Canas. It's a top lane carry team style. But so far, it's actually been the bottom half of the map where we've seen most of the action. Dragon still has not been taken right now. Ghoulster started it earlier and will start it again, but multiple members of Winthrop are potentially converging down here.
It's a question of when Winthrop thinks that they can call University of Buffalo's bluff, right? You have a lot of people moving forward, but they're down gold. They're down experience. They don't necessarily have the items, and as the item completions start coming in for Winthrop a little bit faster, I think we're going to see this game go from being what appears to be even, and the players probably think this game is in a pretty even spot, to suddenly getting blown wide open when they realize, oh, wait, we've actually been ahead 2,000-3,000 gold this entire time, and Kenji just wants to fight. He's level 6.
He's just walking forward. He's literally just walking at Seat right now, who Flash is about to come up, but he might still go down. Jelly actually doing a fantastic job of trading damage back. Seat yet again barely surviving, but here's Frost Force just joining in. Ultimate use. Askio will get one kill, but can he get away? No, he cannot. Ghoulster picks up that kill. Now Frost Force too far forward. Tries to trade back to White Jelly. Doesn't get a Cry. Riven has joined in. Now Sir Kenji very far forward, but I don't think he's going to get hit here. Ghoulster. Oh! Just barely! Oh, so close. Tormented Soil doing enough for Ghoulster. 4-0-2 on the Morgana.
And every time we bring it up, we have to come back to why Jelly having such a great game. Ghoulster, somebody we hadn't talked about a whole lot, now playing with this tempo. I look at him and I often see like the Graves player that he played so much throughout the regular season. He wants to be able to make a lot of these plays and go for these ganks with the damage that he's going to be bringing. But now Hybrids need to be careful as he caught out.
Yeah, had to flash away right there. See, it was roaming nearby. Hey, he got the control ward. Mission accomplished, right? But yeah, things are starting to swing back potentially into Buffalo's favor. They're still down 1,000 gold, but if they can find plays like that, that's where the composition shines through. Cry Riven, I mean, he only hit that one Q, right? But this is what the team's willing to do. They're willing to throw their mid laner into these side lanes. And yeah, Doxa is farming up a storm, right? Like, we can bring our attention back to this CS differential in the mid lane, but you got to use all that gold eventually. And it can be difficult against the likes of a Pantheon Leona. These tanky targets can actually tank up a lot of your damage. So eyes are going to be on Doxa. What can you actually do with this solo advantage that you've been finding for yourself? But let's take another look at that play bot.
Yeah, this is interesting, right? We always talk about bringing more members in. They think they have more, right? This is a spot where it's hard to fault Winthrop for their actual macro play, but it just takes them too long. They're not able to actually lock down any of these kills, and while they are able to get C on the backside, they have to overextend because they didn't have the damage to take down members individually, and it ends up being Cry Riven picks up a kill with his ultimate, and Kenji just can't walk out at this point. Ghoulster once again coming down, and we see the power of the red buff getting that slow with a little bit of extra damage. You can just walk people down.
And I'm loving more and more the Xayah pick too, because like, yeah, you see the Nocturne locked in. This is the weakness that you were saying, Joshi. If you lock in Nocturne too soon, the enemy team can pick these picks like the Xayah, like the Pantheon, that are difficult for Nocturne to actually get on top of. But Rift Herald drop mid lane, it's open. Doxa has done a fantastic job of punishing every roam Cry Riven has gone for. He's also died those 2 times, so Doxa is just constantly hitting that turret, and it does fall at the 13-minute mark.
That's big, right? We still see that it is very even in kills. 5-6 currently in favor of Buffalo, but they're down 3,000 gold and they're going for a dive. This is normally Buffalo's play.
Yeah, but there was ultimate on the Xayah. This might have been too far forward. Again for Winthrop. Sir Kenji, he goes down. That's teleport in from Canucks, but answered by Hybrids. They got to get out now. I don't think the Winthrop really want this to continue as a play. A lot of damage. Okay, maybe they do. Ghoulster's really bursted down. Doxa has ultimate, flashes forward. Doesn't actually use the ult. Just does enough damage with the orbs alone. Doxa finding an answer kill.
Doesn't even have a completed item yet. He's just throwing around this,
they're
and
fighting
oh
another.
god.
Cryo Riven, okay, there we go. Unleash Power was used, but it was tanked up by the Pantheon Shield. That's what I was talking about. The interaction can be difficult, but they still get flash out of Cryo Riven, so yeah, Doxa's just putting in work right now.
Doxa diff is really what it is right now. I can't wait to see what else they got in the rest of this game. Another dragon coming up in just a minute, and I think as we see these items come through, once again, Luden's Echo completed onto Doxa, or it's called something else now, Luden's something, as they're going to be moving down into this river. If they can get there first, it is so hard to face check Syndra. She just throws down the ball, throws out the Scatter of the Week, and finds stuns, and with how fed he is right now, most of the members of University of Buffalo could get 100-0 from Fog of War.
Absolutely. The big thing is if Cryo Riven can get up that shield in time, maybe a black shield from Morgana, something like that, but again, Winthrop looking for this dive, a little over-eager.
I don't know if they necessarily need to be making these plays, Kangas, right? We see that there's a lot of scrapping back and forth, and you know University of Buffalo is willing to go for them. And Winthrop is a little bit more cohesive, right? Like, they make a lot of these plays, they know what they're trying to do, and they have a little bit stronger macro across the board. And now, as they come here first, they have pretty much everything they need, except for a couple of ultimates. And Doxa might be able to blow somebody up over the wall.
He's looking for it. Oh, look at that damage!
Gosh.
That's on the Leona. That's the tank, by the way. Didn't have the W up, to be fair, but still, that's a lot of damage regardless, and that chunk is going to be felt in this next team fight, because now Buffalo are deciding, do we want to go for the Dragon, or do we have to give this up now? Because Winthrop are grouping up around it, also pushing in that mid wave. Buffalo have given up their priority around the area. They're in a choke point right now, not where you want to be against a Rumble Ultimate, not where you want to be against a Nocturne Ultimate. I think you have to back off.
Yeah, as soon as you walk through that choke point, there's no way you can come back through. You're trying to go through up against a Rumble, up against a Syndra, but maybe you can find something else. Saskio might be...
They are looking for it. Okay, Cryo Riven commits the ultimate, but Saskio, wise to just ult out of there, says, nope, I'm not looking for a fight. I'm just distracting you so my team gets the objective. It will be an Ocean Soul on Summoner's Rift.
This is the first one I think we've had today, and we got to see where the first couple of dragons are going to go, or I guess the next couple of dragons. We already got 1-1 apiece, but the Ocean Soul, super impactful in these fights, but it's not necessarily going to be giving a whole lot of survivability up against the crazy burst that Winthrop is going to be going for. They're trying to win these fights very, very quickly, and if you just die in 3 seconds, that's not enough time for the Ocean Soul to do anything for University of Buffalo, so they got to take the fights. The dragons are nice, but it's mostly about getting that gold lead.
I feel like Buffalo need to make sure that that Dragon Soul does not go over to Winthrop, right? That is worst case scenario, which means that they have to fight for those, group up around those. And right now, Winthrop have a gold lead, 3K in their corner. So it's hard for Buffalo to really find much right now, as well as the Rift Herald picked up there by Winthrop. They have a lot of focus on objectives. I really like this. The Rift Heralds fighting around that dragon once they're ready. It feels like Winthrop University, they've done their homework, right? This, I believe the analyst desk was talking about this. Now that we're in the top 8, oftentimes the teams that are winning are just the teams with the better fundamentals.
They have fantastic fundamentals. Now, the thing that I want to really see at this point is how well they're able to translate this advantage if they realize that they have one, because they have lots of tools to be aggressive across the map, and they're still playing this game. Kanas can still pop off, White Jelly can still go untouched in team fights, but as they start finding out where he is, they're going to have opportunities to be aggressive. When we saw a couple plays earlier, Winthrop, that didn't go the way that they wanted to, but this time they're bringing a few more members to the party.
That was very interesting from Kanas. He actually was opting to not farm some minions so that he could remain hidden in the brush, hoping to take a 1v1 against hybrids. But, I mean, members of Winthrop, like you said, they were here. They were there anyway. So Kanas, he loses out on some farming gold. It doesn't really get much for that. Winthrop backing up hybrids on the top half of the map, maybe looking for somewhere to drop this Rift Herald, right? They spent the time to get it onto Frost Force, and now they want to turn that into a turret if they can. But Buffalo reading the play, grouping up themselves.
Interesting to me that Seat's sitting there, but I also want to call attention to something that you said earlier in the cast and praise somebody for breaking the mold. Ghoulster on this Morgana has started to build a notable CS lead over his jungle opponent. Ghoulster currently up 7 camps over Frost Forest, and that is going to be giving him a lot of extra gold. Obviously, this is accelerated by the first couple of kills he was able to pick up, but it is a situation where the Nocturne, as the game goes longer and longer, becomes more and more just I'm going to throw this guy like a Pokemon at the enemy team, and hopefully he does something while the rest of the team can actually follow up.
He's got a lot of shred right now with that Leandries. even to survivability with that stopwatch, so Frost Force will have difficulty getting onto him. Ooh, Cry Riven taking some damage from Saskia right here.
He's the same level as the mid laner. Wait, actually the levels in this game are very flat, just across the board. Like, Saskia is level 11, Doxa's only level 12 at this point in the game. It's a little surprising that everything is so even across the board. Normally, you tend to see a little bit more exaggerated growth coming in from the solo laners, but I think this kind of speaks to how much both teams are kind of grouping up and going for these skirmishes and not necessarily being in lanes quite as much. And even so, like, as soon as I say that, I have to once again highlight Doxa more than 10 CS a minute. 200 at 1937.
Feels bad to be a support. I just want to give a call out to all my support homies. They are the ones that always take the beating when it comes to the leveling department. But yeah, look at that gold differential in the mid lane. Wow. Okay. That's 4K. A 4K gold lead for Doxa. We've highlighted him. We've said his name a couple of times. We're going to say his name a couple more times throughout the day because clearly this player is where Winthrop like to put the resources. Although, also shout out to Ghoulster, very far ahead over Frost Forest. And that's good news because you talked about the rank of the teams, or the players on Buffalo. Canas, their highest ranked player. Ghoulster, second highest ranked player, has hit Grandmasters. So, showing the carry potential on this Morgana. Let's see if you can use that gold correctly, because throughout the way the Buffalo has won their games, right, it's been playing a draft that helps out Canas, enables Canas in the top lane, but not necessarily relies on Canas to carry, because they do still have secondary carries on their team that can show up in these team fights.
True, but I want to highlight something right now. Rank means very little when you're going to be showing up to these dragons late. We already highlighted how difficult it is to walk through a lot of these choke points against Syndra and Rumble, and while Rumble isn't quite here yet, he can teleport to be there before anybody else, and this is fascinating to me. The fact that Winthrop aren't going to just let University of Buffalo into the river. They have people in force, whereas Sir Kenji on the side, now he's the one who has to walk through a choke point. This is a little bit sloppy coming out from Winthrop, and I wonder if Buffalo will have the tools to actually try to punish it. Hybrid isn't here.
They have a Rumble flank if they want to go for it. It really would just be the equalizer. You got to be careful if you're the Rumble, though, because there's a lot of lockdown from Buffalo. Buffalo might have to commit to actually continue this dragon. It is taken there by Winthrop. Seeds in deep. Pantheon's coming in as well. Sir Kenji might be traded for Seed. Post supports should go down, but Sir Kenji does survive. And look at Hybrid's just melting through members of Buffalo. Triple kill to Doxa. Winthrop University absolutely decimating this team fight. Saskia still alive, getting another kill. Great flash from Doxa, avoiding the dark binding from Ghoulster, who now will fall as well. This is going to be an ace to Winthrop.
This really is just a wallop fight at this point. Hey, I got a bigger bank account than you. I have more items. Every single person across the board on Winthrop end up being stronger than their opponents in that fight. Ghoulster tried to go forward, but he took so much damage right off the bat that he wasn't able to get enough damage off during the entire fight. And now, this Baron is kind of bold, right? You still have plenty of members. Canas has the teleport available. Cry Riven can't get here, but I think they're going to be able to get this because I don't think University of Buffalo presumed that Winthrop are bold enough to do this.
They have no vision. Seed is walking up, but he'll only drop a ward just in time to watch it taken, if that. There we go. All right, can confirm, team. They got the Baron. Unfortunate if you're a fan of Buffalo, but Winthrop showing their dominance and why they are a team to be feared in this tournament.
And watch Doxa do approximately 1 trillion damage across this entire team fight. He just blows up Seed at the very beginning, and then he's able to free fire on multiple people. And he knows, you know, we keep pumping up Canas as one of those big carries forward side of you, Buffalo. Just ults him, right? Like, just get that out of here before there's any opportunity to turn it around. And it ends up being enough as they are just able to blow through the rest of the fight relatively cleanly. Winthrop just looking very dominant despite the fact that they gave up a lot of the chokes. They actually gave Buffalo about as even of a fight as Buffalo could have asked for.
Missed it during the play, but Doxa flashing the TSM emote at the end. You love to see it. This is a player that his sights aren't just on collegiate, right? This is a player that wants to compete at the highest level of North American competition, going from amateur, hoping to get into academy and LCS, but now here's Buffalo.
Oh, God.
Look at that damage! Absolutely insane coming in from Saskio Hybrids and company. They just melt through Buffalo. Jimmy falls down to Doxa, double kill. Kanash trying to get over the wall, trying to get to safety. Doxa can't quite get onto him, but there's just nothing Buffalo can do.
Oh, did you see that ult that Doxa had onto Y-Jelly? He just 100 to 0'd him with basically the ult alone, and this time it was Hybrid's turn to do 1 trillion damage across a single team fight as he roasts everybody alive with that equalizer, and this is going to reward Winthrop with at least 1 inhibitor turret potentially, or maybe no, I think they're going to be backing out at this point, but they are so far ahead. They're 9,000 gold in the lead at only 24 minutes. They're coming out with second and starting to work on their third items, where plenty of members of Buffalo haven't even completed their second just quite yet. So the difference at this point is huge. They think they find a pick, but call an ambulance, but not for Winthrop.
Here's the engage. It looked so good, but then, that equalizer, the flame spitter, Saskio, everybody from Winthrop showing
Watch
big
Doxa.
right there. Yep. That literally was just ult, by the way. He had enough orbs out that he didn't even need to throw another ability. Wow, okay.
Yeah, he outplayed him pretty hard, right? But, like, to his credit, Doxa doesn't get to press that outplay button if he hadn't done a couple of outplays earlier in the game, right?
True.
He earned the right to press that
earned
button
that delete
and just
button.
remove it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I was saying before, dude, Doxa, this is a player that's got high sights for his League of Legends career. Winning collegiate, or at least making it to the top 4, would be an incredible feat for any player to perform, but he wants to go a little bit further than just that as well. Now Cryo Riven taking some damage from Doxa under the turret. Look at this vision. They have nothing. They can see nothing that Winthrop is doing. They just have to assume that all their camps are gone.
Yeah. I just want to read out a couple of quotes from the members of Winthrop about their mid player, right? Let's see. Doxa, the I don't speak for half the game, but I'm 10-0 player. Doxa, Doxa diff is literally all they put here. Doxa, the silent carry, right? Even the rest of his team is just like, yo, this guy, like, he might not talk a whole lot, but he talks with his actions, and those are always louder than words.
What do you think he said after one-shotting Jelly there? Just,
AD die. AD dead.
AD dead.
Got him.
Well, let's see what they can do here, because at this point we start thinking, how fast can a team close out? Once you have a 10k gold lead, once you have this many kills on Doxa, there's so little chance for Buffalo to come back, other than maybe get that shutdown onto Doxa, get that gold in your pocket, try and make these cross-map plays. But usually the eyes go immediately to the team with the 10k gold lead. How can they close out a game from this spot? It's only 26 minutes in, but in collegiate, we see fast games, because usually it just comes down to, oh, you make a pick, oh, you get a really big team fight, and you can just close out from there.
For sure. It's generally the way that these games tend to go, right? They tend to be rather even until they're not. And this is definitely a game that was pretty even until it just wasn't, right? We saw that one team fight around the dragon, and everything suddenly starts going Winthrop's way. They find fight after fight after fight, and it's very difficult for University of Buffalo to really come back in this game. So the question then becomes for us, how are they going to be adapting in the rest of the series? Because as far as I can tell, University of Buffalo got almost everything they wanted in this draft. They got a global mid, they got a safe AD carry for Y-Jelly, they got Kanas counter pick, but none of these things have really panned out. The only thing that really took off was Ghoulster.
Oh no, Ghoulster with the black shield coming in a little bit late. Sir Kenji does find the engage on him, and he's just blown up from Doxa, but Buffalo are committing to the fight. They dive onto the back line, but it doesn't matter because Winthrop just run right through them, although Saskio could be in some trouble right here. Buffalo actually do take the lead. Be carry. Can Doxa stay alive? Kanas taking some damage. Oh, through Kanas! He takes down Seat. But Cryo Riven has done a fantastic job of just staying alive, buying time for the team. Now Kanas has joined in. This is what we were looking for from the carry top lane player. He gets 1,000 gold shutdown onto Doxa. Frost Force in full retreat, but can he get away? Kanas reads the direction he's going.
No way.
Does he have W? Does Frost Forest spell shield it in time? They're just going to go for the dive. You have to imagine right now Kanas wants it, and they will get it. Another kill to Kanas, and
no
way. Back.
No way. There's no way that we're going to see this game turn around, are we? This is what we were looking at the very beginning. We were talking about it's Canas versus Doxa. And normally when you have Fed guy matchups, we're both Fed from the beginning, but Canas now turning things around. And do they have enough time to actually do this?
No way.
The members of Winthrop are here. Are they going to try and contest this Baron? Are they going to be able to take it down?
Hybrids has ult. He's coming in. I don't think that they get this Baron. I actually don't. I think the Hybrids can just throw down Equalizer in the pit and force everybody from Buffalo out.
Doxa's teleport.
Coming in from Doxa. Oh no, this could be really rough for Buffalo. Can they actually get the objective? There's the Equalizer, chunking everybody down. C tries to engage. Canas doing some damage if he can, but they cannot find it. Cry Riven goes down. Oh, they get the Baron, but they're gonna lose everything for it. Canas maybe can turn this one though. Look at Canas. Oh, blown up by Doxa. Jelly gets over the wall, but the only member to survive has to make that Baron worth it on just the AD carry.
And that's so difficult at this point. Look at how many members are still alive for Winthrop right now. They're walking forward, and just as you said, trying to stand in a Baron pit. Bit rough against a Syndra and a Rumble. They're just going to be tanking up this turret, make sure they have some minions, and pushing Y Jelly around. All right, Saskio, that's a bit speculative. It would be a bit difficult to go in at this point, but they have 4 members. They're going to be taking down this mid lane inhibitor, and crucially, they have other win conditions. The Baron buff, always a nice way to end, but you also have 2 minutes left until the Ocean Soul, and these chaotic fights that are taking forever, or at least the one that University of Buffalo won, those will not be the same if Winthrop are actually able to pick up the Soul. And as we go into this replay, we'll get to see once again, right, like Seek is unfortunately so poor. Right, he doesn't have any money, he doesn't have any levels, he doesn't have the items to stand up, and he's unfortunately not a real tank. And at this point, it gives, again, just as long as Winthrop have some semblance of battle lines, they should be winning almost every fight.
Exactly. They are so far ahead in the gold department. Look at how stacked these items are. 4 items on Doxa. Flame Horizon and Cry a Riven. This happened in their round of 16 game as well, I might add. Doxa had a Lucian versus Zoe matchup. Did the exact same thing, so... Buffalo, they're fighting though, man. They are not giving up in this game, in this series. It's still game 1. There's still always more games to be played, but they don't want to have to go to a game 3 in order to clinch this one out and go to the semifinals. They still want to put it to Winthrop right now and find an avenue in. Like you said, those scrappy fights won't work if that Dragon Soul goes over to Winthrop. You have to imagine. So how does Buffalo want to approach this one?
Well, we already see that Winthrop are taking control of the chokes. They have everybody here first. They are controlling the vision to force Buffalo to face check, and they're just going on Cry Riven.
Okay, here we go. Frostborn just jumps right onto him. Rumble ult's there too. Saskio is more than enough to take down Cry Riven in the side lane. And Buffalo lose 1 before the Dragons even spawned. 10 seconds on that. Buffalo, they also are losing their bottom turret. The wave coming in. Winthrop just doing such a good job dancing around the map.
That is so smart. That is so smart coming out from Winthrop. They know that they don't want to fight over this. They just use a bunch of big ultimates, so they pull University of Buffalo back towards the turret by hitting it. That is the play of a team with practice macro. That is a team that has such a strong idea on how to maximize all of their advantages. My God, I am so impressed that a team in Collegiate is able to do something that a lot of top-tier teams wouldn't be able to realize they need to do.
We don't always see that kind of play in LCS, Joshi. Just want to point that out right there. So Winthrop, fantastic job playing the map and showing that they are a dominant team in Collegiate League of Legends, one that needs to be respected right now as they look to put the final touches on game number 1 in this best of 3 series. Can they actually close it out right here? Supers pushing mid. They take down the bottom inhibitor turret. Buffalo on full defensive play.
It's going to be tough. The Ocean Soul is already there. These long fights that they were winning because of the Gore Drinker on Canas, going to be so much more difficult at this point. Saskio standing kind of far forward, but there's not actually a whole lot of easy tools to hit him. And look at that. He's already back to full HP after taking a little bit of poke. They're going to clear out this inhibitor, and then they can cycle right on to the opposite side of the map, clear that out, and at some point, they'll probably want it back because they've got a lot of gold to spend.
They have such a difficult task ahead of them, Joshi, because Super's pushing mid, Super's pushing bots. They just cannot answer these waves fast enough, right? Like, Winthrop can just back, spend all their gold, group up topside, triple inhib Buffalo, and then probably just force a teamfight and end the game. They still have a Nautilus to force engages. They still have Nocturne as well, and they're actually pinging assist on the top half of the map. Yeah, so it looks like that is their play, saying, hey, all members get out
On
the
the
hype train for
board.
the top lane. Yeah.
Yeah, there they go. It's interesting to me that they're going to have Frost Forest pick up this red buff rather than giving it over to Saskio, but ultimately, like, these small optimizations start mattering much less at this point in the game when you've already done most of the big optimizations. Now, as I start to move forward, you start paying attention to the fact that some of them might be picking up elixirs. They have, like, these super specific components, like a couple people just sitting on stopwatches. You just do what you can to make this last fight as powerful as you can. You're not looking to scale any further. You just need to take a fight, and almost any fight they take is winning.
Moment of calm before the storm, Joshi. You have to imagine this next fight will decide if Winthrop win right here, or if Buffalo can hold us out a little bit longer. We're still 34 minutes into the game. It's still kind of a fast one, although longer than we expect from typical collegiate games. So Buffalo are actually making Winthrop work for this. They're drawing this out as long as they can, but I don't know how much longer they can do that for as Supers are pushing in. We even see Frostfire in the mid, or Frost Forest rather, in the mid lane pushing down there. The inhibitor will be spawning, so no more Supers pushing in with that wave, but that turret's about to fall topside, so you have to imagine triple inhib soon.
The thing is, they don't necessarily need to go for this inhib. There's a Baron spawning in 15 seconds, right? It's a similar play, right, on the macro level, but most people, when you're trying to hit these inhibitors, you recognize you can just go over to the Baron. You're just buying time here in order to force your opponent to face check as you come forward. And it's part of why I was so impressed earlier when they did it, because it was a very quick decision. They find a pick, and most people are like, all right, we got the pick. Let's go pick up the Dragon. But no, they got a little bit extra. They're going to be picking up this Baron. No risks at all. Going to grab this, and then we're going to be looking to end.
So yeah, Winthrop are a team. I guess we're learning about them. They will go for the 90% play over the 80% play, because I thought that they could just engage under turret and still win the game, right? I mean,
yeah,
they're so
probably
far ahead. They have the Nautilus and the Nocturne, and they saw Canas on the bottom side pushing out that wave. He's been here this whole time. So I kind of want to see more of a killer mentality coming out from Winthrop. I can't fully discredit them because, yes, this is the safer play, the smarter play, the play that pretty much guarantees you the game.
Now you're sounding like a play-by-play caster, King is. Where's my blood?
Fight. Come on! I was promised blood from Winthrop University, but instead they are giving me little purple dudes running around fast.
I mean, you've got 37 kills in 36 minutes. It's over a kill per minute, Kingus. I feel like we've gotten plenty of blood.
All right, fair enough, fair enough. I should count my blessings, you know. When you frame it that way, I feel bad now. But Winthrop are finally pushing in. They have the Baron. Okay, they got everything. They got Dragon Soul. Don't wait for Elder. Don't tell me we're going to wait for Elder. Buffalo's not going to let them wait for Elder. They want to force engage right now with the Pantheon Ultimate coming through. Finally, some action. But the Equalizer still just buying so much space in this fight. They do take down the support, but look at the damage that Dox is able to put out. As well as Saskio, they're on Dox, and that's huge! A 5-man knockback! Absolutely gigantic, but maybe Buffalo can still turn this one around. Cryo Riven, never mind, it cannot be done! Triple kill to Saskio! Winthrop University will push through to the Nexus turrets and will take game number 1. Bethany well fought, but they just could not close it out. Winthrop University with Doxa Dip will go up 1-0 in the series.
Doxa is so good, dude. He's 11-1 in 12, as you called out. He stunned everyone in that last fight. He's putting out so much DPS, and again, we have to point to the difference that Ocean Soul made. That was a fight that would have been winning for Buffalo. They picked their fight, and they picked it well. They're individually talented, but the way that Winthrop is able to move around the map is just proving to be a little bit too much. And of course, when you have a guy who's currently competing for a spot on academy teams in Doxa, you have to find a way to neutralize him, and the Pantheon didn't work. They gotta find another way to shut him down.
I can't help but have the voice in my head, Joshi, saying, hey, remember what happened last year when 2 collegiate players got updated or upgraded to LCS starting roster positions? And I think that we're starting to see the depth of North American talent here in the collegiate scene. That was an absolute performance from the mid laner coming in here from Winthrop. What a game, what a play. You're right, Buffalo, they got their work ahead of them, man. I mean, this is going to be difficult because you already said they got what they wanted in the draft.
They got the fights in the bottom lane too, right? They won a couple of big engagements. Ghoulster was able to come down and turn things around. And if they have that kind of start, if they have that kind of draft and can't beat Winthrop, I have to imagine they're going to have to throw some things at the wall, see what sticks, but they only have one chance. They need to win the next 2 games if they want to stay alive here in top 4. God gave rock and roll, but they need to give a little bit more here to Buffalo if they want to move on.
All right, I think we got to send the Buffalo boys some pre-game hype music to get them amped for game
Yeah, we got
2.
you.
But Winthrop Eagles take the way to pull ahead in this series. We're going to send it over to a short break before the State Farm analyst comes back and breaks down everything that we saw there and prepares us for game number 2. You will not want to miss it. Things are just heating up. We'll see you after this.
Good late afternoon / early evening, everyone, and welcome back to the 2021 College League of Legends Championship. Winthrop pulling up with the W in game number 1 of this best of 3 series, that much closer to securing the last spot in the semifinals. And while you Buffalo, they definitely came to play, I think there is a lot of props that we should be playing over to the Winthrop side. All right, Raz, here's the thing. I gotta call this out first. I mean, Shorter Ace called out Frost Forest as the one that he wanted to face in their next matchup. And I think from what we saw here in this play, there is good reasoning for that.
Yes, Frost Forest, I think, did a damn good job of being able to read the enemy jungler where you wanted to go. This one, I mean, the casters called it out there. The moment he was in the fight, went straight behind Pantheon so he couldn't block a bit of damage. But I loved Frost Forest this entire game.
Yeah, he was playing super well. We saw him be part of a lot of these early plays and skirmishes. He kept catching out Cryo Riven, set him really far behind, one of the big reasons that Doxa was able to build up such a lead. And one of the fun things about Frost Wars is he's willing to play champions like Nocturne in the jungle. We don't see a lot of people do that. A lot of the time it's usually towards the mid or the top lane, but having that flexibility is really unique for Winthrop.
And it also worked really well with this composition. You see how, Nocturne, once you get the fear, in comes the Kaisa, and a lot of those replays started with him working alongside Sir Kenji's Nautilus. So like the intent is always very clear, and they're just reaping rewards as U Buffalo later on in the game was just walking into them. So U Buffalo started out with those 2 early kills, and I was interested. I was like, oh damn, this is gonna be Oh, never mind. It was looking really good from Winthrop side.
Nocturne Ultimate is always a great way to rattle some cages in the game and really set the tone in some of those early moments. One thing that we all had to track, though, was as Doxa was getting stronger and stronger, Dylan, there were a lot of great moments, and I'm very happy that we have stream recap here to be able to capture them.
Yeah, I mean, as the chat was saying, it's just a Doxa diff. I mean, look at that KDA. The man had a 23 KDA in the top 8 of the collegiate championship. I mean, that is just unheard of. Those are really, really insane stats. And the gameplay itself, I mean, this fight in particular was his best fight of the game. He shuts down Canas with the ultimate. And then later on in the game, he has that massive Syndra stun, 5-man in the mid lane. It was so much fun to watch him.
I can see it now. It is. I thought he played hilariously, comically so, because coming into this game, I know we hyped up Doxa, the TSM amateur player, right? Up and coming mid laner. But I was like, yeah, he's got a team like Sasuke, everyone. I'm expecting, not only am I expecting competition, a little bit of it, but also I expected a lot of the team play to come in, and it started really well off of, Frost. But then, yes, he just stomped. I also think the enemy comp, doesn't do too well versus the Syndra. Sure, the Morgana shield can, stop one block, but the Pantheon doesn't really have an angle to fight versus the Syndra, especially in like large corridor fights where it's like, all right, perfect. Well, you line up, line up for the stun. I thought this was a great game for him.
They're lining up for it. And then, I mean, Dylan was bringing to our attention during the game too. I mean, the emote game was on point for Doxa as well, following up in the, yeah, that's what you want to see, right, Dylan? In the collegiate scene, we're getting to see so many of these personalities alongside the player skills themselves. And having someone like Doxa here really has been able to exemplify why he has been earning these opportunities on the amateur scene side as well.
Yeah, that's just the best part. And it's so good to see that everything's coming full circle for Doxa because he really has been one of the best amateur and collegiate mid laners for a while. So seeing him get a chance with TSM Amateur is really, really, it's exciting to watch. And as you were saying, it is fun. That's the best part about collegiate. These players are able to express themselves in ways that you don't really see in other levels of play just because the stakes are a little bit lower. The teammates, they're more so friends than they are like pure work relationships. So we get to see a lot of these interesting dynamics at play.
Yeah, but it's really easy to give feedback to players that you work with if you are in good relationships. Even in like some of the best teams in competitive play, I think you need to be friends. You need to be able to see each other eye to eye and also just mesh with each other outside the game. And like, you get to get that, at least from these teams, because, yeah, they start friends.
And you have to imagine that friendship and the trust in one another really plays a role in their comms as well. We did see where the game started to slow down a little bit with Winthrop trying to ensure that they could have the victory. But Raz, once we finally saw it come together and those team fights break out in the end, you knew it was over. Yep.
Clap, clap. They are getting slapped. It was a disgusting game from that point forward. The moment Syndra was just that fed, it looked like an opportunity for University of Buffalo, and then just like that, just throw everything at the Xayah. The moment that fight happens, head in hand, what do? Look towards the next game? I think you need to, if you're University of Buffalo. So the game looked competitive for the very, very, very start of it. But once the kills were starting to nail on towards, I think 3 early kills on towards the Syndra, you can't have moments like that where you're trading kills towards the best players. So University of Buffalo, I faith in them because Canas had a really good game. Like as rough as this game was for University of Buffalo, there were fights where Canas was literally winning just based off the sustain that he had on his Aatrox. So give that as an asterisk for the next game.
Yeah, and I want to just double down on that point. Canas was trying very hard to drag his team across the finish line. The rest of his team was really far behind, and he was just pretty much even in the top lane, and we saw what he could do without really a gold lead. Imagine what will happen if in game 2 they draft a little bit more towards, setting him up for success. That is their win condition, and I want to see them play towards that.
And we do have knowledge that UB have selected blue side going into the next game. So a little bit of the flipped script here. It seems like both of you are in line that Canas seems to be somebody they really need to be able to play around. Dylan, is there anyone else, though, that you are looking to better enable him, whether it is maybe some attention paid by the jungle or looking for kind of those later game setup scenarios?
Well, we saw Ghoulster have a great game. He started off 5-1 on the Morgana. He was playing very, very well. It kind of fell off towards the later stages of the game. I think if he can step up like that again, but instead of focusing attention towards the bot lane, maybe go towards the top lane, give up a dragon or two, get that Rift Herald, get some gold on to Canas in the top lane. I think that would give them a better chance in this game.
Yeah, I agree completely with Big Dylan over there. I think Ghoulster is definitely the person that you want to... He started out the game really well. I think the next game he can do the same.
For a bit, it was looking at, whether that Syndra or that Morgana was going to have the heavy impact later on. In this case, we got to see Doxa really show out. And Winthrop, because of that, after game number 1, they are in match point position to try and secure their spot in that semifinal series, burning the rest of the competition and washing them off of Summoner's Rift. When we return, we will have game number 2. Let's see it happen, friends.
I didn't order a pizza.
I know, but that Parker promo saved me so much on my insurance. Brought you a little something special.
Parker, State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
You're the man, man.
And you want the real deal? Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.